Hello and welcome to the next video in our Functional Skills Maths course at levels 1 and 2. This video is all about square numbers. The learning outcome is to calculate the squares of 1 and 2-digit numbers. This links to our previous learning through multiplication, where when we were doing multiplication, we highlighted the fact that when a number is multiplied by itself, it creates what we call a square number. So 3 times 3 equals 9. Where 9 is a square number. So our definition for a square number is the product of a number multiplied by itself. So 4 squared is 16. So 16 is our square number. So 4 is being multiplied by itself. Now in mathematics, rather than writing it out in longhand, 4 times 4, we can actually write it like this, 4 squared, where this little 2 is called the index. So 4 squared equals 16. So 16 is our square number, 4 is the number being squared. Square numbers quite literally come from squares, where if you had a square that is 2 by 2, so 2 times 2, your square number would be 4. And if you do this as you progress through the numbers, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, and 6 squared is 36, and so on. So just multiplying a number by itself creates our square number, and it comes from working out the area of a square. So in these new style exams, you can be asked just straightforwardly for the square of any number. So have a go at these two. So if you know your 8 times table, 8 squared means 8 times 8, and that is 64. Doing 14 squared might be slightly more problematic, in that we learnt our times table up to 12 times 12. So 14 times 14, which is what 14 squared means, requires us to do some mathematics. Now you can use either method, either the grid method or the column method, to do this calculation. So let's use the most common, which is the grid method. So 14 is made up of 10 and 4, and we're going to multiply it again by 14, which is made up of 10 and 4. So 1 times 1 is 1 with 2 zeros. 1 times 4 is 4 with 1 zero. 4 times 1 is 4 with 1 zero. And 4 times 4 is 16. Now, all we need to do is add these numbers together. So 100 plus 40 is 140, and 40 plus 16 is 56. So 140 plus 56 is 196. Here's an exam style question, quite straightforward. Calculate 12 squared. Now with 1 mark we don't have to show any working out, so if you can remember your 12 times tables and you understand that 12 squared means 12 times 12, then you can just write down 144. However, if you struggle to remember your 12 times table, you can do this as a calculation. So you might want to break it down in one of the other methods for doing calculations. So if I do 12 times 10, I know it's 120, and I know that 12 times 2 is 24. So to get 12 times 12, I just add these two together and I get 144. So this was one of our chunking methods for doing multiplication, just to show you the various methods for doing multiplications. Now, some of you will be aware of the term called square root. And this is quite literally the opposite of squaring a number. It's giving us the number that is being squared that gave you our square number. So the square root of 16 is 4. So 4 times 4 gave us the 16. Or, written mathematically, this square root symbol of 16 equals 4. So the square root of 16 is 4. Now, you may not come across the terminology square root in your functional skills maths exam, but you do have to know the process that takes you from your square number to the number that was being squared. So have a go at these two and see if you can give me the numbers that were being squared that gave us 36 and 81. So what is the square root of 36? Again, they will give you straightforward ones and there's no difficult calculations. So providing you remember the numbers 1 to 12 and what the square numbers are for 1 to 12, you can do the reverse and identify the number being squared. So the square root of 36, I know that 6 times 6 is 36, so the number being squared is 6. The same for 81. If I remember my times tables correctly, then 9 times 9 is 81. So the number being multiplied by itself to give me 81 is 9. So the square root of 81 is 9. So here's a question that has a square garden with an area of 25 meters squared. And what are the dimensions of the sides of the garden? In other words, what are the two lengths of this side and this side that gave us an area of 25? So this is our square number because it's the result of these two numbers being multiplied by each other. And being a square, these two numbers are the same. So identifying 25 as a square number, then the number that was being squared is 5. So the length of each of these sides is 5 meters. Because when we come on to do areas, you'll understand that you multiply the 5 by the 5 to give you an area of 25 meters squared. Another thing you can come across with powers and indices are other indices and what they mean. So at level 2, you could come across other indices like the power of 3. So 3 to the power of 3, or an index of 3, means 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27. Another example is 2 to the power 5. So 2 to the power 5 is multiplied by itself 5 times. So 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 16 times 2 is 32. So that's how other indices work. And that's the end of this learning outcome on how to calculate the squares of 1 and 2 digit numbers. If you need any more practice on the topics in this video, then please go to Moodle where there will be extra worksheets and quizzes available.